So, as Emily said, my name is Michelle Jewsbury, and what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to be talking about relationships. So, what a great person to go after, Dr. V, who did a great job of talking about relationships and how important it is to have good relationships, not only in your personal life, but your professional life as well. How many of you guys out there are doctors? Right. Okay. So there's a lot of people here who have patients. And in order for those patients to continue coming back to you, you have to build a great relationship. So before I dive into that, is it okay if I tell you guys my story? Yes, yes. Come on, it's interaction, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I was born to two amazing parents. My mom and my father were these light and shining armor, I used to call them. And my mom, unfortunately, passed away a couple years ago, and my dad passed away about 6.5 years ago. And you never know how long you have with the people that you love. So it's so important that you build great relationships with those people now in order for you to benefit from all that they have to offer and for all that you have to offer them. But we moved around our whole lives, my brother and I. You see me kind of in the corner of my mom's armpit and my brother's head peeking through there. Moved around our whole lives, and my daddy was military, and he took care of our family. He made sure that we always had food on the table. But my brother and I grew up in a household where we understood that we had to make friends and then remake friends, and then do it all over again because we moved so much. Well, by the time I was about 16 years old, I knew that I wanted to do something more. I wanted to not just make friends, but I wanted to build myself a business. So when I was about 16 years old, I decided that I wanted to pursue a restaurant job. And I've spent about 15 years in the restaurant industry, from everything from hostess to server to bartender to management, even cooking behind the scenes and doing dishes. And I loved it. I loved interacting with people. How many of you guys out here do your profession because you like people? You like to help people. I see a lot of hands. Somewhat, you're like, you like to put the shields over their mouths so they don't talk to you, then I'm assuming, right? But you want to give back. You want to get to know somebody. And that's what I wanted to do in the restaurant industry. I got to know people. I got to sit down to their level, sat with them while they're having their beer and like, where are you guys from? And talking to them. And it was really awesome. But I knew that I wanted something even more. How many of you guys know that you wanted something even more in your life? I see a bunch of hands up. Well, that's something even more when I was about 21 years old was to move to Hollywood, California to be a movie star. I hear some laughter. Yes, right? Yes, I loved it because I loved the interaction. I loved being able to be on stage portraying a character that in the end could uplift and empower somebody to make a change in their lives. Well, things were going really well. I was starring in independent plays and doing films and doing commercials. If anybody's from the Northwest, I did Papa Murphy's commercials. You name it. It was awesome. And I thought I was on my way to stardom. And then I ended up meeting somebody. You ladies out there probably know what I'm talking about. Blonde haired, blue eyed, swept me off my feet, courted me, sent me flowers, sent me gifts, took me to ball games and other sporting events, and took me to awesome concerts. And I'm a huge Dodgers fan, and it's all because I started to go to these stadiums. Well, things were going well. And then about 4 months into that relationship, my head went through the wall. And I didn't understand that that was the beginning stages of a domestic violence relationship. I had no idea that my Prince Charming was actually this evil creature behind closed doors. I ended up staying with my abuser, we'll call him Paul, for roughly 4 years. During those 4 years, I endured psychological manipulation, sexual abuse, physical violence to the point where I should have died a few times, and sexual abuse. And I tell you my story because I want you to know that no matter what you go through in your life, It's your reaction to situations, not what happened to you. And I remember that there were so many times where I was confused and I was trapped in this cycle and I didn't know how to get out. And eventually, after leaving 5, 6, 7, 8 different times because of the cycle of domestic violence, I escaped the relationship. But when I escaped the relationship, again in my life, I realized I had to do something even more. I had to do something about what happened to me. So when I left, I ended up sitting in front of my computer, very similar to what you guys are doing at home. I totally forgot there is a Zoom audience as well down there. And I started to document what happened to me. And when I started to document what happened to me, it started to come out in a play format. My theater background, of course, it came out in a play format. I wrote and performed a 65-minute solo show about my experience in domestic violence. And people started coming up to me. They started saying, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing. My mother went through this. I witnessed my sister going through this. I myself have gone through this. 1 in 4 women in the United States, 1 in 11 men in the United States have experienced domestic violence. 1 in 4 women have experienced rape in the US. 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced some form of physical and sexual violence. Again, I knew I had to do something. In 2017, I started a nonprofit organization called Unsilenced Voices. We currently operate in Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Rwanda, Africa, and we are expanding to the United States. And I'm going to be saving the best for last. I'll be talking a lot about the nonprofit towards the end of this speech, but I want to give you guys information, right? I want you to know that I know that we are focused on building our business, building our practice, serving our patients, serving our customers and clients. But it's all about giving back and how social impact is the new currency of the future. What are you guys doing? What is your passion? From me starting the nonprofit, I wrote my first book called But I Love Him, working on my second book now called Overcoming Obstacles. Did you know that 50% of entrepreneurs deal with a mental health condition? How many of you guys are entrepreneurs? Right? I see a lot of hands, right? Because you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't. You wouldn't be in this room if you weren't trying to move your life forward, pursue something even more, get information that you need to propel your business forward. From there, I started speaking on stages all around the world. I was honored to be asked March 2020 to go speak in Egypt at the Women's Economic Forum about domestic violence and my story. And then the world shut down. How many of you guys experienced some obstacles when the world shut down? Right? Yes, I see a couple of hands. It was very interesting. And Brandon and I were joking about the quarantine 15 that everybody gained during the 18 months. And I know a lot of people, I see Angel, you raising your hand too. We all had some SHIT to go through and we ate through it. So now it's time to lose it, right? But that's a whole nother topic. That's what Dr. V was talking about. But what I'm here today to talk about are relationships. Now, the reason I was able to conquer my abusive relationship was because of the relationships I built with friends and family and mentors outside of that relationship. It was so important for me to move my life forward. So let's dive right in. Nicholas Sparks is one of my favorite authors, and he wrote long-term relationships, the ones that matter, are all about weathering the peaks and the valleys, not just in your partner relationship, but friends, clients, customers, patients. So why do relationships fail? Does anybody have any ideas to make it a little interactive? We fail to be honest. Okay, that is one. Yes. We give up and not try. Anybody else? Money definitely becomes an issue. We don't communicate. So there are a lot of reasons why relationships fail. During the research and during my experience, I nailed 3 specific reasons why relationships fail. So the first one, Non-acceptance. Now, non-acceptance is that you don't accept your partner for who they are exactly. So Eckhart Tolle said the greatest catalyst for change in a relationship is complete acceptance of your partner, your client, your associate, your patient, as he or she is, without needing to judge or change them in any way. It's really interesting. I'm in a relationship with somebody now who I'm very happy, except for this one little part, right? I hear laughter. This one little part. I'm like, maybe he'll change that one little part. But they won't change. You have to fully accept somebody that the way they are, no matter what it is. And then you can make your decision afterwards. So the first thing is you cannot change him or her, right? I tried to change him. That's not going to happen. In my abusive relationship, I tried to change the situation. I tried to change him. In the cycle of domestic violence, he never changed. So then it was up to me to make that decision whether I stayed or left, right? Next, the problem in the situation is you, not the other person. So if you want somebody to change, do some self-reflection. Why do you want that person to change? There may be a catalyst. There may be something that is unsafe or unhealthy. However, if it's something small, like he doesn't fold his underwear, or he doesn't put the top on the toothpaste. So, yeah, thank you. I hear somebody laughing because it's so true. They're not going to change. Those are habits that we have to fully accept. Now, sometimes people will learn to pick up a little bit more, but innately, right, they're going to be who they are. Thirdly, when you don't accept the person for who they are, what happens? Fighting, right? Arguments. Your relationship goes south. You start to bicker about who gets the remote control that night. You start to fight about, wait, I wanted Chinese, not Italian. Your sex life goes to hell. If it is a patient and you're expecting your patient to change, expecting your patient to understand who you are, how you work, develop around you, they're going to end up leaving. So that's money that you left on the table. So it's fully accepting, right? And then the last thing for non-acceptance is you first have to accept them and then decide if that person is right for you as a partner, a friend, a client, associate, or a patient. Does all that make sense so far? Okay, so the second one, lack of trust. So Bill Walsh was here yesterday, and he talked about the things that you need to build a successful business, right? You have to like them, and you have to trust them. Exactly. Trusting people. You have to be trustworthy. You also have to trust the people around you. Now, a lot of us have been hurt. I'm one of them. Like I said in the very beginning, it's the reaction to what's happened to us. It's not what actually has happened to us that matters. So lack of trust, you have to dig deep and identify the source of where that mistrust is coming from. If you're in a relationship and there has been infidelity, it is your decision to stay in that relationship, your decision to work through that. You either work through it or you leave. If you continually bringing up the mistrust, the relationship will fail. If you continue to bring up, well, you did this or you did that, and you did this 15 years ago. I know there's a lot of women in the audience right now. We hold on to grudges. We have to learn to let go. If we choose to stay in that relationship with either a patient or a spouse or a friend that maybe have hurt us in the past, it is our decision to overcome it, not theirs. The lack of trust stems from our fear. It's always our fear. He's going to hurt me again. I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. That's going to happen to me all over again. PTSD gets brought up. I run a coaching and a masterclass series called the Obstacle Breakthrough Program. I deal with a lot of clients who have had traumatic things happen to them from childhood all the way up to adulthood. And like I keep saying, it's your reaction, but you have to learn to trust yourself as well. If that's what you want to do in your life, whether it's start a business, a ministry, a movement, be a dental hygienist, be a doctor, you name it, you have to trust yourself, but also trust the associates and the people around you. And it stems from the fear of that's going to happen to me again. So we actually help you overcome those challenges, overcome those obstacles in order for you to actually prosper even more than you are now. Now, the reason we're all sitting in this room is because we want even more success for our personal and our professional lives. Thirdly, it's up to you to address the issue, not them. So, this isn't only a women's issue, okay? This is a man's issue as well, but I'm going to pinpoint the women for a second. When we're pissed off at our spouse, what do we usually do, ladies? No, withhold sex. Yes, that's a good one. Yell at them. Withhold sex. My mom used to do the silent treatment all the time, right? I'm not going to say nothing. He needs to read my mind, right? It's the same thing with a patient. You can't read your patient's mind. If you sense there's something wrong, address the issue. Talk about it. So if you're pissed off and you're staying quiet, or you're, like you said, Tracy, withholding sex or intimacy from your partner, you need to speak about it. You need to talk about the issue at hand. Why don't you trust them? Bring it up. Talk. Communicate. In our Breakthrough Masterclass, we teach you how to communicate because it is so incredibly important, right? To voice your opinions. Lastly, this is primarily for romantic relationships. If you can't feel comfortable leaving your spouse in a room with a bunch of sexy people, then you don't trust them. Now, if that is something that causes you fear and anxiety, that's something you need to address. Talk to them, right? I see you saying yes. You have to speak. You have to communicate, which leads me to the third, poor communication. So the first one, right? The first one for the reason why relationships fail is no, yeah, poor communication. But the first one, right? The second one was lack of trust. First one, I'm gonna wait until somebody answers. What? Oh, you don't remember? That's okay. So it's lack of trust, poor communication, being able to speak your mind, right? And then you've got it right in front of you. Non-acceptance, perfect. So make sure that you end all of those, right? So for poor communication, first thing, you have to communicate your emotions. So this is what we were talking about. If you're pissed off, communicate that. Now, we teach people how to scream into a pillow, how to yell and get out your emotions. If you can't talk to the person yet, write out what's going on with you. We teach a lot of stream of consciousness writing, which is writing out your emotions, your feelings on paper, and you can burn it afterwards. Nobody has to read the damn thing, right? But get it out of you. It's like a water, right? Drinking water. If you drink half the water down, that means it opens up half the bottle. So that means you can allow more things to come in. It's the same thing with emotions. You start getting emotions out, it allows for positivity to come back into your life. Second, use open discussions. So with patients, for example, the reason why you may not be able to keep a patient over and over and over is because you don't have a safe place for them to talk to you. They don't feel comfortable So then there's poor communication going both ways. This is the same in a romantic relationship. If there's poor communication, right? If you don't have an open dialogue, a place where they can feel heard and listened to, then the relationship will fail. So use open discussions. And then the last thing, solutions might be to sit down, right? We already talked about that. Sit down with your partner, sit down with the people that you love, talk. And I suggest shutting your mouth. You laugh because it's very, very true. Because the more you're quiet and the more you listen to what is concerning your spouse or your patient, the better results it's going to be. Now, these are the 3 things that causes relationships to fail. Non-acceptance, lack of trust, and poor communication. Now, all of you here are here because you want to build your brand or your business even more. You want to learn different skills to make your business grow even larger than it is today. Why do you do what you do? This is one of the main slides in all of these slides. You have to know your why. Why did you get up today? Why did you fly or drive to Miami? Why are you at this conference? What is your why? Your why could be your children, could be your spouse, could be because you want to make a difference in the world. I love this. In the left-hand corner is my brother. He is my why. He is my family that's left. My mommy and my daddy no longer are on this planet. They're up in heaven. But I am here because I want to show him he can still have a wonderful life. I love to travel. I run a nonprofit organization, which you are going to hear about in just a few moments. I get to help people all around the world. I also love to party. I know a couple people in this room know me pretty well, have been out with me. Bill Walsh yesterday taught faith, family, fun, or family, faith, fun. Fun is so incredibly important because if you don't know why you're doing something, then you're going to go from busyville to burnoutville very, very quickly. Have fun. Schedule your fun first. And that's what I do. Schedule my trips. Schedule time with the people that I love to be with. If it ain't your family because they drive you crazy, then it's your friends, right? I see some people laughing. Then it's the people that you care about most. But schedule your fun first. The results of a healthy relationship with your patients, with your spouse, with your friends, and with your family. Better health all the way around. You laugh more, you cry more, you feel good. When you're able to express yourself, you get out your emotions. Does anybody know what happens if you hold your emotions in? It's called adverse childhood experiences. I see you raising your hand, Doc. If you hold emotions in and you don't express yourself, it comes out in autoimmune disorders, chronic fatigue, ailments, chronic stress, all of these horrible things that happen to our bodies because we think we're over some type of trauma, some type of neglect, some type of stress that we thought that we could push under the rug. Our bodies hold on to that. It's so important to express ourselves. We teach all of this in the Breakthrough Masterclass and all of this in our private coaching programs. The next, better coping. Now, I'm going to be just completely transparent and honest. When I was in my abusive relationship, I used to cope with alcohol. I used to drink a lot of alcohol because I couldn't understand what it is that I was going through. I was coping so I could stay alive. I wasn't expressing my emotions. I wasn't yet in therapy. I had to cope. And a lot of people use food. A lot of people use alcohol or drugs or sex, working out too much or working in the office too much. All of these are coping mechanisms. The results of a healthy relationship with you, your patients, your family, and your spouse is you learn to use positive coping mechanisms. You express yourself. You cope less, right? And then the last thing, better performance. Now, Tracy's not here anymore because I was going to call her out. There she is. Better performance isn't always in the sack, but it definitely is part of it, right? So better performance is better performance with your clients, with your patients, with your family, with your partner. How many of you guys want even better sex? Nobody's going to be honest. Okay, I see men raising their hands. I like that. At least they're listening and honest, right? In order for you to have a healthy relationship, the positive aspect of it is you get laid more by your spouse. If you listen, if you cherish, if you understand, if you talk, guess what happens? More romance, right? It's the same thing in a relationship with a patient. Better performance if the patient trusts you, if the patient understands that you are there to listen to them, if they know that they are not just a dollar sign for your business and you actually care for them, they'll refer and then you'll get even more clients. And your performance is going to be based off you generating even more clients from them. So it's better performance all the way around in your life. So, like I said, we have a breakthrough masterclass system. If you are interested in learning more about that, please contact me. I'll be over here. I know we go on break right after this. I think we're ending pretty dang soon. We do have private coaching. That's more of a application process. So if that is something that interests you, let me know. Angel Tussey and myself are actually doing a joint women's retreat. Men, I'm so sorry, but it is for the women. We are only limited to 15 seats. Now, we already have 4 or 5 of them taken, so we only have 10 seats left. That is happening in Orlando in mid-August. So if you are interested, let me know about that. And the last thing I want to end with is a video about what I do. So I briefly talked about unsilenced voices. I briefly talked about my passion and my why. I spoke a lot about social impact, right? What are you doing to give back? Whatever your passion is, not my passion, your passion is. Social impact is the currency of the future. You give back, your patients, your customers recognize that. They jump on board. If you don't give back, they see that, right? I'm not saying join Unsilenced Voices. I am saying join something. Be a part of a movement, something that is moving forward, going to impact hundreds of thousands of people. Unsilenced Voices has an event happening July 22nd in Las Vegas. If you can't make it, consider donating. We need help. So Adam here is going to be super awesome and switch. So if I can get your guys' attention to the screens. This is Unsilenced Voices.